Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, good morning. I want to welcome you to the Health Committee meeting for Wednesday, May the 17th, 2023. If you would call roll, please.
Representative Lee. Here. Representative Lipscomb. Here. Representative Hall. Representative Gray. Here. Representative Kitchens. Here. Representative Cole. Representative Rigsby. Here. Representative Marcus. Here. Representative Holt Jones. Here. Representative Mooney. Representative Rafferty. Here. Representative DeBose. Here. Representative Sorrells. Representative Shirey. Here. Representative Warren. You've got a quorum.
Okay. Just to give you kind of an outline of what we're going to do today, Representative Roberts will be first with one bill. We will vote on that today. The next bill will be HB 405 by Senator Roberts. And then I tried to give you a promotion, I think. Yes, sir. Okay. And then Representative Bose, that will have a public hearing, and we will not vote on anything today. Now, we have 1 in support of the bill and 11 that oppose it. And what I'm doing, rather than taking all 11, we're going to take the first 5 and give those 5 3 minutes each. So be preparing for what you're going to do. And then Ms. Garrettson, you will have 4 minutes. So wherever you are, okay. And so first bill today is Senator Roberts, SB 235. Please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, committee, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for that promotion, Mr. Chairman. This bill deals with the World Police and Fire Games that will be coming to the greater Jefferson County surrounding area in 2025, where you'll have police and fire groups from all over the world once again ascending on Alabama. And with them will come some of their physio people, their medical people and whatnot. It's the exact same bill and procedure we did for the World Games as teams visited the state. We're just asking that they can come and practice on the people who come with them and then leave with them when the team departs. And with that, I've just asked for favorable consideration of this bill.
Representative Shirey makes a motion. Are there Representative Rigsby second? Any questions? Thank you for doing this. I know it's some bit of a time sensitive, so everyone can prepare. So I appreciate everybody working toward this. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor by saying aye. Aye. Those against, nay. The motion or the bill passes with favorable report.
Thank you, committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right. Representative DeBose, HB 405.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. I'm here to present HB 405, which is the What is a Woman Bill. It's also known as the Women's Bill of Rights. And if you'd like to go to womensbillofrights.com, you can read all about details regarding this bill, which is making a movement around the country. Who would have thought it would be necessary to define age-old terms such as male, female, mother, and father? But when a Supreme Court justice cannot define what a woman is, the time has come to do something. We know common sense and science must prevail. The purpose of my bill is to codify definitions for some sex-based terms into state law. Male, female, man, woman, mother, father, sex are all defined for the purpose of this bill. Common sex-based words are used thousands of times in state law, but recently activists have sought to redefine these words and separate sex from biology. So why do we need this bill? If we don't codify the definition of common sex-based terms, laws that prohibit sex discrimination will cease to mean anything at all, and single-sex private spaces will disappear. This bill does not create any special rights for women or create any new rights at all. It simply clarifies the meaning of current sex-based laws. Let me also explain some misconceptions about this bill. This bill does not erase or deny the existence of transgender people. This bill does not alter anyone's legal rights. This bill does not create any new restrictions based on gender identity or transgender status. In closing, I would like to thank the Attorney General for help in crafting and promoting this bill. Attorney General Marshall has stated that this is one of the most important pieces of legislation we can pass this term. He is proud to support this effort that protects the legal rights and opportunities of girls and women. I would also like to, I also appreciate the support of Senator Katie Britt, who has signed on to support this legislation. I know this is a public hearing, so I welcome any comments, and I'm happy to take questions from the committee when appropriate. And I do have 4 friendly amendments.
Okay. And at the appropriate time afterwards, we will let you talk about those 4 amendments, and then we will have those in hand for next week vote. So,
Right.
All right, we will start the public hearing. And in the past, if you've not been in here, what we do, try to be as fair as we can. Those 3 minutes, you'll start, and at the end of 3 minutes, whether you're for or against, it doesn't matter. We will cut you off in the middle of the sentence. And we've done that on sides that we agreed with and done it on sides we've disagreed with. So we want to be as fair as possible.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you want to do all these and then her, or you want to do half and then her and then?
Let's do all those. Okay.
Patricia Todd.
And welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. Sort of odd to be on this side of this, but I'm pleased to be here today and talk in opposition to this bill. I'm not sure what this bill is trying to fix, the problem it's trying to fix. And I thought it was interesting that it's being promoted as the Women's Bill of Rights. I wonder if the same people supported the Equal Rights Amendment to the Constitution. My concern about this is it seems like it's going to set up the gender police, that we're going to determine, well, you look male, so that's okay. But if you really can't tell what gender they are, how are we going to prove what gender you are? So that concerns me. You know, and I think you need to think about the unintended consequences of a bill like this. What's it going to mean for law enforcement? It would require everybody on their driver's license to have their birth gender instead of their current gender identity. Now, like it or not, there are people in this country, and it's a growing number of people, who do not identify with their birth gender or may not identify with either gender. So this is opening up a door that we're not sure where we could go with this or how much it might cost, how confusing it might be to law enforcement. So I want you to think about that. I'm honestly I don't understand what the obsession is with the trans community. Alabama, we have a lot of problems, and I've sat in your seat for 12 years. You know, I mean, we have a prison crisis, we have a healthcare crisis, and that's what we need to be focusing on. This is not a crisis in Alabama. And I know a lot of trans people, and a lot are in this room who are fine, who are coming to tell you their story and express their concern. I hope we can have open discussions about this, and I've talked to the representative about that. And I just hope that you will vote no on this bill, and let's open up a conversation so you all can all learn about the diversity in the LGBTQ community, which we are very diverse, of which I identify. It was my pleasure to serve in this chamber for 12 years as the first openly gay legislator. I had a wonderful time. Some of my dear friends are still here, and I just hope you'll take that to heart and think about it. Thank you.
Bel Air Moyers.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Dr. Bel Moyers, and I am a resident in District 10, Dr. David Cole's district. I'm here to ask you to please oppose HB 405. I am a trans woman and a professional biologist. In biology, we define sex in many ways. We sometimes define sex based on chromosomes, XX or XY. We sometimes define it based on gamete, which is something close to what this bill does. We also sometimes define sex based on appearance or behavior, the presence of breast, other body patterns, or even behaviors and how people interact with others. These are only a few of the definitions of sex that we use, and when they disagree, they result in individuals being categorized or as intersex or people with differences in sexual development. Um, Estimates of the number of intersex people vary based on different definitions, and this bill does not precisely define what that term means. This bill does, however, classify all of those folks as disabled and would immediately define as many as 85,000 Alabama citizens as disabled and require new accommodations be made by any institutions covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act. I do wonder how that will impact Alabama economically. In biology, you have to choose the most appropriate definition for your question. Choosing the wrong definition leads to bad science. In law, choosing the wrong definition leads to injustice. This bill is not about biology. It masquerades as biology. It tries to use a technical definition, but it's not the right one. This bill uses an arbitrary aspect of a person's biology to regulate social spaces. It's the government sticking its nose in to all of our lives to make them more dangerous and, frankly, more annoying. This bill is big government examining and classifying your body, your wife's body, your husband's body, and your child's body. If it passes, it will be telling my friends, my family, my coworkers, and my community, we don't care that you accept Belle as who she is. You will have to use our definition and you will obey our mandates. We have already seen what happens in other states when laws like this pass. No one asks about OVA and gamete, their IDs, or their birth certificate. It has resulted in the harassment and assault of men who don't look enough like men and women who don't look enough like women, even when those folks are obeying the law. When the government makes a law policing who is man enough and who is woman enough, it turns out that no one is really man enough and no one is really woman enough. I urge you, as a biologist, as a citizen of Alabama, and as an empathetic human being, please oppose this bill. Thank you so much for your time.
Cassandra Williamson.
First, thank you for having me. My name is Cassandra Williamson. I'm the Executive Director for Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, which is an Alabama nonprofit corporation. This business that I am the Executive Director of is focused primarily on our military personnel and our veterans and the locations around the country or around the state, such as Maxwell, Redstone, Huntsville, different places where there might be a large group of veterans. But we're also out in the country. We're also all over the place in the state. This bill would harm that. This bill would make their lives miserable. But the biggest thing I want to point out to you is that I've got some friends in the White House who are asking me to tell them where Alabama stands on equality for all people, particularly when around these definitions of words. They want to know if I would recommend that the Space Force move its headquarters to Huntsville. So a vote for this will be something I will notify the White House of, that we will certainly not recommend moving the Space Force here. If you table the motion next week or you vote to approve it out of the committee next week, that's going to be my recommendation. That's an economic impact on this state. You've already got some things attacking it directly, other causes, other things. But I can tell you that the friends I have in the White House run the military and veterans offices in the White House. So it would behoove you to please vote against this. It's wrong on so many levels. The biological part people have already mentioned. Oh my gosh, families that have trans kids or gender nonconforming kids, all this stuff is wrong. And I know that you want the best for Alabama. As a matter of fact, I do too. I want the best for Alabama. I want this state to succeed, to grow, prosper. I want the very best of people to be here in the state. And I want the best organizations to be represented here as well. But if we show the country that this state is not accepting of people like myself, then I will make sure, with all of my ability possible, to inform my friends not to bring these large organizations to this state. It's that simple. So you have a choice next week. If you table it for later discussion, no deal. If you vote for this and vote it out of committee, no deal. It's that plain. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Allison Montgomery.
Hey y'all, my name is Allison Montgomery. I'm a Madison County resident, born and raised Baptist in Representative Rigsby's district. I went to Bob Jones High School and graduated UAH, and now I've put down roots there as an engineer supporting Redstone Arsenal. I love Huntsville and I love Alabama. I love the community I've found there, the friends I've made, the family who, thank God, still accept me as their own. I'm a car girl. I've done a few engine rebuilds with my dad. I'm really into music, marched trombone through high school, and I continue to play to this day. And I'd love to go on hikes with friends around our local Alabama trails. I'd love to go on and on about why I love life in Alabama, but it's not why I'm here today. Y'all probably already know this, but I'm a trans woman. I ran from that realization for years because I, like many of us are led to believe, thought that it was morally wrong. I was sure transition wouldn't be possible for me and would ruin my life. But thankfully that wasn't true. And thankfully, stubborn as I was, God finally got me to see the light of the truth of who he really made me, not what any man said I was supposed to be when I was born. That realization and my resulting gender transition have improved my life in more ways than I can name in the time allotted for one public comment. I'm more fulfilled in my life now than ever before, and I see God's purpose for me clearly now. I've been living as a woman for over a year, including using women's restrooms once it became apparent that I wasn't welcome in men's anymore. And nobody's had any issue with it. When washing my hands, I've had old ladies compliment my hair or my outfit out of the blue and try and make me feel good about myself and included in our community like any other young woman. I know from living womanhood that it's right for me and that my doing so is absolutely not harmful to those around me. It's also become abundantly apparent that this is what God intended for my life. I actually want to live my life now, unlike before transition. Unfortunately, HB 405 is going to make life in Alabama unsafe and unlivable for me and all trans Alabamians. It would be used to force trans women like myself into bathrooms with men and trans men into bathrooms with women. Plus, it would backfire and encourage the policing of everyone's use of the restroom, trans or not. Furthermore, it would be used to place trans men into women's prisons and trans women like me into men's prisons, which is an inherently dangerous situation for us. And we've already seen how the policing of bathrooms like this has excluded women who aren't trans from their own spaces because they don't look feminine enough. So for the good of us all, we should really keep what's private, private. And as an Alabamian and as an American, I think we should keep Uncle Sam out of our pants. So please act in the best interest of all Alabamians by saying no to HB 405. And listen, we're all human. I know it can take time to understand someone else's perspective. I didn't know anything about trans people for the longest time, and it turns out I am one. So I wanted to extend that grace to y'all and an invitation, if you want to get lunch after this. Thanks for your time. God bless.
Thank you.
Andrea Treneman.
Good morning, and thank you for providing time for public comment. My name is Andrea. I'm a trans woman. I'm from David Cole's district. I'm sorry he wasn't able to appear today. I'm an aerospace engineer who works on Redstone Arsenal, and I'm here today to oppose HB 405. HB 405 states that sex is defined at birth, that females are those with ovaries while males have testes, and that women are human females where men are human males. It then goes on to note that it is important for state law to distinguish between men and women with respect to prisons, detention centers, and bathrooms. This bill suggests that people should be reduced to their gonads and sorted accordingly. It suggests that a trans woman who has been on estrogen for decades and has gotten surgery to replace her genitals with a vagina should be placed in a prison among men. It suggests that a trans man who has been on testosterone for years, a man with a full beard and a deep masculine voice, should use the women's restroom. This is deeply inappropriate. This bill seeks to solve a problem that does not exist. It implies that I, as a trans woman, am transitioning for nefarious purposes. That all the hormones, voice training, hair removal, legal red tape, clothing, and makeup that I put up with is done not because I find it affirming, but because I desperately want to wait in that long, long bathroom line outside of the ballgame. I am transitioning because I am a woman. I decided to undergo transition after intense and agonizing consideration. My body and mind are becoming aligned, and I feel more alive than ever. I implore you, vote no against this bill. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out this is bad legislation, but here I am anyway. Thank you for your time.
Becky Garrettson.
Thank you so much for holding this hearing. I want to thank you, Representative DuBose, for bringing this legislation. Alabama must respect scientific truth. One of the absolutes in science is the determination of sex at birth. The scientific differences are real. Every cell in the human body is coded with DNA that specifically identifies the sex by an XX or an XY chromosome. Hormones and surgeries do not alter our female or male DNA. I had the opportunity to testify during the women's sports bill, and I think you have the flyer in front of you. There are real differences, physical differences between a man and a woman. For example, on average, men are physically stronger than women. Men have 66% more upper body muscle than women and 50% more lower body muscle. There's a 10% performance gap between male and female athletes in most sports, and it hasn't narrowed when women train the hardest. There are more facts on the sheet for you to look at. But the differences are real. But beyond that, girls and women are harmed when sex is redefined because we lose our privacy. Ignoring the true biological differences between the sexes exposes females to specific forms of violence, including sexual violence, compromises the safety of female-only spaces like bathrooms, domestic violence shelters, rape crisis centers, and prisons. So Eagle Forum stands with women in Alabama for their right to privacy, safety, and dignity in single-sex spaces, and we support this legislation to update Alabama law with clear scientific definitions of men and women. This law simply codifies biological reality, and I'd appreciate it if you'd vote yes.
Thank you. All right, Representative Bose, if you would, step to the podium, and then you can maybe touch base on all your amendments that you will have.
Thank you, and I want to thank everybody that helped me with some amendments and just trying to get the definitions and everything just right. This is not an easy process, and I want to take time to make sure that we are understanding what we're doing and that we're getting this right. It is important because we want to protect women's spaces. We want them to be safe. So with that, I'm just going to go quickly over some 4 amendments. The first one, let's see, line 77 on page 3. We just added a word, the collected data set as either male or female as determined at birth. That's line 77 on page 3. Then the Department of Public Health offered a suggestion, which I was glad they called, and they've reviewed the bill. Let's see, on page 3, also at line 77, the collected data set is either male or female at birth. This selection shall not be construed to prohibit the entry of unknown. So on birth certificates, we do have male, female, and unknown for those rare instances when a baby is born and the sex is undetermined at birth. And that does rarely happen. We've had 5 in the state of Alabama in the last 8 years, 8 or 9 years. So it's very rare, but that does happen, and we acknowledge that. And that is the one instance in which the Alabama's for Disability Act would come into place, and those individuals would be treated on a case-by-case basis. On line 104 on page 4, sex, we've aligned this definition with the definition that we've used elsewhere in legislative findings. Sex, the biological state of being male or female at birth based on the individual's sex organs and chromosomes. And then finally, this has actually nothing to do with the bill, but because the section of code that we're using also has some other definitions in it, we are updating some of that. And so it just so happens that the word insane will remain in our Alabama code, in case y'all wonder. Insane, and the definition of insane is in there. That has nothing to do with my bill, though. Totally coincidental. So any questions that y'all have, committee?
Representative Lipscomb has a question for Dr. Moyers. Yes, please. Go ahead. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Doctor, thank you. I'm sorry, your comments were moving kind of rapidly. Could you readdress, and you had a limited amount of time, I understand. Can you readdress your comments regarding ADA requirements?
So in the bill, it specifically says that those who have a difference in sexual development shall be provided accommodations according to the Americans with Disabilities Act. The definition for differences of sexual development is not given in the bill. And there are a variety of definitions used throughout biology. The specific mention of accommodations is not given either. So it's unclear whether this is going to require any building covered by that act to have to create new bathrooms. It's unclear what those accommodations will be, and I'm just not certain how that will affect various businesses and buildings in Alabama. And I think that's something worth addressing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As an architect, I'm interested in that commentary, and we'll discuss that with the bill sponsor.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Representative Rafferty? Any particular to any particular person?
To the sponsor.
Okay.
So the first kind of. There we go. Can everybody hear me all right? All right, good deal. So, one of the kind of top things that kind of came to mind here was, as I was reading through the bill, dealt with, where's the definition of parent in here? When we're talking about mother and father, we might have couples who have a hard time conceiving. Would the sperm donor then be considered the father? Or if they use surrogacy, would that person be considered the mother? I just wanted to see if there was any sort of clarification for parent that was defined under the context of this bill, because I think that's a pretty important aspect to what we're looking at and what the bill will do, and the possible unintended consequence of it.
We could add parent. We were mostly dealing with definitions in which there was a male and female, mother, father. I think we had boy and girl. I mean, we could go on and on. I could go aunt and uncle and sister, brother.
Sure,
but those aren't millions of words I could add. But if parent needs to be added,
so you'd be amicable to removing mother and father?
I would not
and just
remove
parents,
mother and father. No,
too?
No.
Okay.
I think that these are the kind of words that we do want to preserve. For example, there's a children's book that was written a long time ago, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's been rewritten now, and the word sister was replaced with sibling, and that's as if you're erasing women. I mean, sisters are still important. We don't need to replace that with the word sibling. And parent is still an important word, but we don't need to eliminate mother and father. I'm certainly happy to add parent.
So we can talk about clarifying the definition of parent in here. Then.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then I guess my next thing would be, I just got the phone with not my constituent, but somebody that lives close to my district, who is they're a lesbian couple.
Mm-hmm.
And they have had these children, raised 3 great beautiful little girls. And, but obviously they couldn't, one woman couldn't inseminate the other woman, but one woman did have the children. And then also her partner and her wife is definitely the one that's, taken on a role that would traditionally, maybe be considered, the father. It's definitely the other parent's role there. So I'm kind of curious, what was the birth certificate look in that situation? Does the father then become the sperm donor? Does the father then become, what happens in that situation to accommodate, all the families that make up
Well, does this
Alabama?
family have 2 mothers? Because
So there'd be 2 moms in this
Okay,
family,
well-
right? And they're biological, children. So.
I don't think that this interrupts that at all.
Well, I would
I
disagree.
mean, there's still 2 mothers. I mean, a mother is still a mother of a child, right?
So on a birth certificate, it would just be mother. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, the birth certificate has her birth certificate changed? Is it still the same as it was when they were born? I mean,
So here's the thing. So they actually born in Texas, and that was before all this kind of this kind of move
Yeah.
in that direction had occurred. and actually they just had parent and parent. That's how they listed the
Oh, you
birth
mean on the
certificates. It was,
child's.
you know, parent 1 and parent 2 or something along those
This bill
lines.
does not even go that far to,
Well, no, it addresses vital statistics and it addresses birth certificates. So it's going to be addressing and dealing with.
we're
with
not
the repercussions
defining
of those.
the parents on the birth certificate.
We're not.
Mm-mm. No, that,
But
not.
well,
no.
that's not what the bill is telling me. That then.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
just-
I'm telling you what a definition of mother and father is by this bill, but if they put parent on their birth certificate, that's not.
And you're not saying that that definition
I
is
don't
going to
have a
have a repercussion when it comes to vital statistics and that kind of
Mm-mm.
thing.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look
But
into.
we can,
We'll,
I
we
mean,
can.
yeah, let's check
I'm
on
happy
that,
to
but I
talk
don't
to you
see a
more about
problem.
it, and we,
Yeah.
we can look more into that and investigate a
Absolutely.
little bit more.
Yeah, I want you to be comfortable with that. That's not my intent to mess that up.
Additionally, you know, I was a little concerned about, you know, in 2019 we passed an abortion law that had made no exceptions for rape or incest. So I'm wondering if the predator or criminal would now be listed as, you know, the father in this situation, and if, you know, if that father would then have parental rights or anything along those lines, if that were to occur.
I don't know that that would be any difference in the case today. I mean, the father, is it unknown? Is it, I mean, I don't have a requirement
Right.
to put the father's name on there, just like there's not one now.
Okay.
I don't think this would affect that at all.
Okay.
It would not be in my intent to
Understood.
do anything with that.
So I think we still have some more questions.
Sure.
I'm happy to sit
Yeah,
down and talk
and
with you more
I
about
want
it.
to do that. I want to do that.
Absolutely. I know you've always been great to sit and work with, so I'm happy to have that
It's-
conversation
These,
with
you know, these bills are a process.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Representative Warren?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is more of a comment. And as I've been in this legislation for years, and I've seen things happen, and personally, I feel that we're all out of our arena. We're really messing with nature. God has made all of us, and He's made us human beings. And when we sit down and try to tell a person who they are and what their desires are, that's not our business. It's not in our hands. And when I see you, I think you quoted, this is a protect women. This protects women, but when it comes to abortion, a woman doesn't even have a right anymore in this body. So I just feel that in instances like this, we need to stay out of folks' business, let things happen as they happen, because who knows what your son, what your daughter might want to do. Maybe they haven't done it yet, because there are many. And I sit here and I know of a case. As a matter of fact, my step-grandson, who's in med school, announced to us months ago what he's doing. What are we supposed to do except love him and protect him and let him live his life?
That's right.
So, I mean, this, I just feel as though we're wasting our time when we're number 50 in education. We don't have health care for people who are in health needs, and we're sitting up here trying to tell somebody how to live their lives. It just doesn't fit right with me. I wanted to say that. Thank you.
Representative Gray?
And I just want to add, when you look at it from a branding standpoint, like, these are bright people, right? Like, they're biologists, they're engineers. What happens when they leave the state? And so we need all the talent that we could get, right? We need the population. We need big businesses coming in. We're supposed to be a pro-business state. I just think that as far as branding, we're not saying that we're open for everyone. And I get what you're trying to do, but you know, we just live in a world where things are a little bit different, right? And we have to embrace that sometimes people being different doesn't mean they should be ostracized and things of that nature, that essentially they're just different because being different is being unique. And so I just kind of look at it from a branding standpoint, as far as, are we really saying that we're open for business in Alabama? You know, do we want a Google's headquarter or Apple headquarter or things of that nature? We're not really saying that as a state when we bring legislation like this, but I do get what you're trying to do, but I just don't know from a benefit analysis, is this a risk that we're willing to take on the back end? Yeah.
And we can have further discussions about this, and it kind of boils down a lot to the difference between sex and gender. So gender, you can choose to identify, and that's very important, to respect those that identify differently than their sex at birth. And I honestly respect that and admire you, and I'm not trying to eliminate that section of society at all. You can identify through your gender in any way, and this is not trying to change that at all. This is working in a very narrow area to protect women that are women at birth. And there are instances, for example, when a girl moves into Tutwiler at the University of Alabama, are they going to live with biological women in there? I think most women would expect to. So I think that's a discussion that needs to be had in the state. And I'm happy to listen, and I'm glad we're having it. It's not easy. And I hope that we can all continue this discussion and be respectful and know that I'm trying to do my best at that as well.
Any other comments? All right, let's talk just a minute about the amendments. Next week, when I would suggest everything would be much smoother if you take all your amendments and bring it as a sub.
Okay.
And put them all together. I would wait till, because you may change something between now and Monday. I'd wait till Monday.
Okay.
And if you will get that sub to Michael Ann, and she will send that to all the members, so it will be in our hands 24 hours prior to Wednesday's meeting of next week.
Yep.
That being said, thank you. Our
Thank
meeting
you.
is
Thank
completed.
You, committee.
Okay.
Thank you all.